everyone, today we will be learning Chapter 8, Chromatography, Part A. Let's start with a question. What is chromatography? Chromatography is a word derived from Greek word of chroma, which means color, and graphon, which means write. Chromatography is literally defined as color writing, which has been used in history before for the separation of leaf composition where each component have different color. Thus, chromatography is defined as a technique used to separate mixture into their respective components. The separation technique of chromatography based on the principle of partition of solids between two phases. The two phases are mobile phase and stationary phase. The mobile phase is the solvent that carries the mixture of components through the stationary phase, whereas the stationary phase is a part of the apparatus that holds the components. As they move through it, the stationary phase will separate them. The interaction between mobile phase and stationary phase results in the separation of components from the mixture. Three modes or techniques of chromatography are 1. Elution, which is the separation by affinity of stationary phase. The second one is frontal, where only one component will only be separated. The component chosen will have the least affinity with stationary phase and the highest affinity with mobile phase. The third one is displacement technique, which addition of a displacer will assist the separation of mixture. Next, I'm going to explain on the operating principles of those three modes of chromatography. The first one is elution. In elution, a small volume of sample is applied followed by a mobile phase which has a lesser affinity for the stationary phase. The sample components migrate through the column at different rates and exit in a series of peaks, which we call chromatogram. For example, of this elution mode is adsorption chromatography. The second mode, which is frontal. First, sample feed enters the column continuously. The target solid does not adsorb the column, but some impurities are strongly retained by stationary phase. For example, removing DNA from protein product. In displacement mode of chromatography, a small volume of feed is applied to the column followed by a displacer, which has a higher affinity for the stationary phase than the sample components. This displacer forces the components off the stationary phase and drives the sample mixture down the column at its velocity. The example of displacement mode is in affinity chromatography. Methods of chromatography can be classified into two ways. The first one is based on the interaction between sample component and the stationary phase. The second one is based on the nature of stationary phase or mobile phase. Next, I'll be explaining to you about two common applications of chromatography, which are high performance liquid chromatography, HPLC, and gas chromatography, GC. High performance liquid chromatography, or HPLC, requires the use of non-compressible resin materials and strong metal columns. The eluents of the columns are detected by methods such as UV absorption and fluorescence. It can be applied in the form of partition, adsorption, ion exchange, or molecular sieve chromatography. Due to the rapidity in action, HPLC is used for assays of amino acids, peptides, proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acid and related compounds, and etc. The next one is gas chromatography. gas chromatography is the method of choice for the separation of volatile substances or volatile derivatives of certain compounds in volatile substance. In GC, stationary phase is an inert solid material impregnated with non-volatile liquid. GC is sensitive, rapid, and reliable. It is frequently used for quantitative estimations of biological materials such as lipids, drugs, and vitamins.